Okay, so one of the first things you're going to have to do this task is to retrieve the um, item that you will be working on for a grade. And as you can see up here, the objective says that you're going to be focusing on item 3. I even say item 3 here twice, and then item 3 again. I'm emphasizing this because sometimes students will submit all items, and I don't want to see all items. I just want to see item 3, or people will submit the wrong item. So some of you might assume that, hey, for my first argument markup and reformat, I'm going to work on item 1. And that is definitely not the case. It's going to be item 3. You might be asking, well, why didn't you order the topic for item 3 first? Well, I just felt that the logic and the flow of the questions for week 2 was better if I had the topic for item 3 last in terms of the arguments you were constructing. So to get your response, well, first of all, I need to say that as you know from already having read this, you are going to be applying everything that you've learned about arguments as relevant, as appropriate to your item 3 response from the week 2 submission. In previous videos throughout weeks 4, 5, or 6, I have commented on acceptable changes that you can make within those arguments, those having to do only with things like sentence fragments, comma splices, run-on sentences, and minor typos with spelling or leaving out a word like a noun or a verb, or like maybe an article like a or the. So you cannot rewrite, you cannot add to your argument, you cannot totally redo your argument. 95% of what you use for this assignment should be the same, if not 100% the same, with what you actually submitted. In other words, you have to work with that with which you for what you got a grade. So that said, what you'll have to do is you're going to have to go to grades and feedback, and then you will click on, you will see item 1s, 2, and 3. Remember, I itemized your grades for week 2, but this is not where you go to get your item 3 response. You're going to have to go to the week 2 submission. So give me just a second because I need to get into student mode so that pops up for me as a student. So what you'll have to do is click on Submit Your Response Week 2 Task 1D. Then you're going to scroll down till you see your third answer. And what I've done is I've just copied right here with my cursor, I'm copying item 3. I don't need to copy the subheading. I just need the item 3 response. So then you'll copy that. I'm able to right click. I meant to do that. I can also use my keypad. And then what you'll do is you'll go back into the weekly bundle folder. So you're going to go back into week 7. Go back here. And then the way that you have to submit your response is you have to use the write submission option. Do not use attach files. Do not put your response in the comments. This is the only place that I want you to post your response. You have to use the write submission. This is the only way I'm going to give you credit. So then what you can do is you can do this and then paste. All right. I said keep formatting. For a lot of you, it might be better when you're about to paste, it says keep formatting or remove formatting. I recommend removing formatting. And then keep in mind also that if you need editing functions or to increase your editing functions, you just click on these 3 dots right here to do so. Now, if you prefer, you can work in this like in, Microsoft Word or whatnot. I don't recommend Google Docs because a lot of times when you do stuff in Google Docs and then you copy and paste into Blackboard, all I see is a blank page. So do not use Google Docs to do this if you want to make sure you get credit for this. With Word, there doesn't tend to be a problem, so you could do all of what I'm about to show you in Word, but you're still going to have to make sure that everything you do in Word with respect to this argument can be done. So at this point in the video, I'm going to show you how to mark up and reformat an argument online, because you've been doing it by hand, but the requirements for doing so online will be a little bit different. I'm also going to add missing requirements. Now that said, while you are going to be working on your argument about running through a group of protesters, that is not the argument. I'm not going to focus on that argument. So I'm going to take a complex argument that we did not get to, or that I decided not to cover during a previous lesson, and I'm going to use that for this part of the video instead. Okay, so let me go ahead. I think I told it to keep the formatting, and I didn't mean to do that, of course. If you do this in Word, and you do you know how to do strike through in Word, which is this right here, draw a line through. If you say remove formatting, then it's going to be gone. So make sure that you redo the strike through. I'm going to let you make that decision, but whether or not, if you do it in Word, just make sure that, the markup is correct. If you can, I recommend that you do the markup here in the Write Submission text box. All right, so with that said, like I said, I'm going to use an argument that we didn't get to show you how to mark up stuff online, to give you missing requirements for subheadings for this assignment and whatnot. But what I'm also going to do is work through another example of a complex argument. You might want to review all of your notes for everything about argument analysis and markup and reformatting. Keep in mind, I cannot stress this enough, you guys. I cannot stress this enough. I want you to understand that the primary focus at this point in the video is to show you how to mark up and reformat online and give you missing requirements. I am going to be using a complex argument and helping to refresh and review and further solidify our ability to work with complex arguments. That said, what some students have done is they've taken my, application of various things that we've learned to this argument and assumed that because I'm using a complex argument as an example, that they too must have a complex argument for item 3. And if you've been following the lectures during, whatever weeks we covered, complex argument and simple argument, you should know that you could have a simple argument or a complex argument. So especially if you missed the lesson on complex argument, realize that you may not have a complex argument for item 3. I'm simply using what we learned about complex arguments during a previous lesson to reinforce, how you work through complex arguments, but it's primarily to show you how to mark up online and reformat. So just because certain concepts apply in this application for this demonstration, that doesn't mean it's going to, everything that I say or do is going to apply for you with respect to applying concepts and rules. Okay, so that said, let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to recommend is that whenever I say pause and try on your own or do this to your own argument, you do that. A lot of students tell me that this is really, really helpful. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over how you bracket and number statements, that is apply content principle 2 from argument clarification to your argument. Again, you're working with argument for item 3, so you could have another browser. You should open up your browser window, open up this task, and then follow along with me. So first, just follow me here and take notes. Then when I'm done bracketing and numbering, then do that to your own argument before moving forward. So let's go ahead and work through this. So this says George Floyd should not have been eulogized. So that's a statement. And again, I'm not teaching at this point. I'm just applying and showing you how to do so online. So I'm not going to repeat lecture points. You have all the lecture stuff, all the points, all the methods, all the coaching, all the warning, all the tips in your notes that you were supposed to submit based on lecture videos. Okay, so when it comes to numbering statements online, we're going to put the number to the left of the opening bracket statement. So we're not going to put a circle around the numbers. The numbers don't go above the statements. The number goes to the left of the opening bracket for a given statement. So statement 1 then is George Floyd should not have been eulogized. Okay, my reasons for thinking this are as follows. Okay, so this is going to be statement 2. I know that there's at least one student who might not think that this counts as a statement, and he has me wondering about it just a little bit, but I am not yet convinced that this is not a statement, so I'm going to go ahead and bracket and number that accordingly. Then this says, let's start with the word eulogize itself. What does it mean? Okay, so this is more like a proposal, which is kind of like a command, so I'm not going to bracket or number this. Of course, this is a question, not a statement, so of course I'm not going to bracket and number that. But then I have, according to Dr. C, eulogize refers to the communicative act of honoring and praising someone who has passed on. That's definitely a statement about what someone says the meaning of eulogize is. So I'm definitely going to bracket and number that as a statement. So that's going to be statement 3, and the closing bracket would go right here. All right. In my opinion, we should eulogize only those who are honorable and worthy of high praise. Okay, so now I'm going to definitely, that might be their opinion, but when we state opinions, we're making statements, okay? So we're going to go ahead and bracket and number that. When I see a premise or a conclusion indicator or excess verbiage at the beginning, I tend to leave it out of the bracketing, but only when I don't destroy the sentence. And I've already lectured on that kind of stuff, so I'm not going to say anything else about that. But this is going to be statement 4. And of course, it would be okay to have the opening bracket and number over here. So that's going to, don't forget to do your opening and your closing brackets, by the way. In my opinion, okay, so then again, I'm going to leave out the hedge because leaving out the hedge doesn't destroy my statement. So I'm going to put a 5 there. Anyone who has failed to respect the dignity of another human being has lost the privilege of being honored and praised, closing bracket. Then we've got Floyd held a pregnant woman at gunpoint. That's definitely another statement. And this is an act that treated her as a mere means to an end. Okay, so this is a complete statement by itself. This is also a complete thought. After and, this isn't a list like apples, oranges, and bananas, right? This is a list of statements. It's a sentence of statements. In this case, since it's not a mere list of things, but the list itself is of statements, then I need to make sure I note that. So, and I already lectured on that kind of a thing with the word and when you can take out and when you can't. So we're going to go ahead and do a 7 for that statement right there. This is an act that treated her as a mere means to an end. Okay, so should I have a closing bracket there? Well, I have to see what comes after and. It may or may not be appropriate. It says, when you do this, you are violating someone's dignity. Oh, that's a complete thought. So I was correct to put the closing bracket. I've noticed that in my classes towards the end or middle point of the semester, students start doing weird things and they start taking out the word and in sentences where that's not appropriate, and they end up creating sentence fragments, but we're not doing that by saying that this is another statement here. So we're going to be fine with that. Okay. Thus, he violated the dignity of a pregnant woman. So then we've got yet another statement. And then we have yet another statement, and consequently, and notice that I left out the conclusion indicator because doing so does not create a sentence fragment or ruin the syntax. Same thing here. I'm going to leave out the indicator here because it's all right to do so. So that's going to be a statement. Oh, it's a statement. And I am going to check my numbering, 8, 9. I will check it one more time before I end this part of the video or lesson. Refresh, how to. So that'd be statement 10. Thus my original. So that is repeating the main statement. Oh, and actually, there's a lot of conclusion indicators there, so I'm just going to go over here. Okay. All right, so yes, this is basically the statement here, this last one here, in this last sentence. Yes, I know it's repeating the first one right here in different words, or exactly. I already lectured on that, so I'm not going to say anything about that. All right, so I have George. Okay, so that's definitely statement. Statement 1, statement 2 should not. Nope. Statement 3. Just making sure I didn't skip any numbers or repeat any numbers like I might have in the past. There's statement 4. There's statement 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, look, I forgot a closing bracket. Statement 11. Okay, so hopefully I haven't missed anything with the bracketing or the numbering. If I have, I might catch it in the next video. If I don't catch it in one of the following videos, let me know. I might give you extra credit. But this is basically the way, this is generally the way that you bracket and number your statements. So now you should go ahead and bracket number your statements. And then when you're ready, start the next video to see how I want you to label online.